of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
I would like to have, just take 1 minute to have a moment of silence. Tom Wagner passed away last Thursday. He was a long-time member of this community and a vital part of the community, and he was a county commissioner for, I believe, 2 or 3 terms. And let's just have a moment of silence for Tom. May he rest in peace. Okay, let's go ahead and start the meeting. Okay. Has everybody had a chance to review last minutes from last meeting?
Yes.
I've seen no corrections.
I see no correction either, Mr. Chairman.
Do we have a motion to approve?
Also move.
I'll second that. Mr.
Moved
Chairman.
and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Passes 3-0. Commissioner comments and committee reports.
I just had my first meeting with the area agency on aging. I don't need to say too much because we've got it right here, but it was the first meeting. I thought it went really well. Really great group of people. Thank you.
I had nothing, Mr. Chairman.
I attended the Kansas County Commissioners Association meeting last Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And Junction City, I got to tell you that it was a great training. Talked about everything from ag law to taxation, human resources. It was a lot of it. We already knew, but it was a reminder. Also got a chance to talk to lots of commissioners around the state to share some of our common goals and interests. It was darn worthwhile. Versus K.A.C., which is a major meeting, this was only commissioners, and we were only talking about commissioner things. There's no road and bridge people, no clerks. It wasn't as big as K.S.A. I would recommend that we get involved, continue to do that. So, okay.
Do we have any paper? Michelle, do we have any paperwork on?
We're just going to have to pass it around because I don't have anything at my desk.
Okay. So let's.
Unfortunately, it was mailed.
New business before the board is the Northeast Kansas Area on Aging 2020 budget request.
Well, first of all, thank you for allowing me to talk to you today about what we do. My name is Karen Wilson, and I am the Executive Director for the Area Agency on Aging in Hiawatha. We serve, I'm going to hand out a brochure too. We serve 7 counties in Northeast Kansas. We go out to Washington, Marshall, Nemaha, Brown, Doniphan, Atchison, and Jackson. That's our service area. So I travel around quite a little bit. So I haven't been to your meeting in a couple of years, so we did discuss that the other day. But part of our funding is, well, almost all of our funding is through different grants and contracts with the state and the federal government. That our start 40 plus years ago was through the Older Americans Act, which is a federal act that helps us fund services from, just basic information, referral services. We do assessments to help people stay in their home. So we authorize and help coordinate homemaking, attendant care, which is bathing, those types of stuff, medication management. We are also a big funder of the meal sites that participate in the Older Americans Act. One of them is Project Concern. We contract for our home health services with agencies like Atchison Hospital Home Health. So all of those processes are bid out every couple of years, and we go through all of those things. But one of the requirements of the Older Americans Act is that we do have to have match money to get our federal dollars, which is pretty much how all the federal programs work. And every year we send out a letter, and the last, I think, 7 or 8 years, we have asked for $2,637 from the County of Atchison. And that is our request again next year.
What's that figure again, please?
$2,637. And I'm going to email stuff to Michelle this afternoon because apparently my packet.
My records show that we approved $1,200 last year.
The last 2 years, you've only paid $1,200. So then we have to beg other Atchison County entities or reduce funding to our providers. And this is a topic going forward. Prior to that, because I did go back and look, and I thought when I looked at it originally, you used to pay the full amount, and then it went down to $2,400, and then the last 2 years it's been $1,200. So we have gotten that money. 1 year we got it from Westar Energy. I do ask them for money every year. I've gotten it from Project Concern directly before as well to make up the difference. So yeah, our request is $2,637, and with that, I will hand this out.
$1,637.
Mm-hmm.
Seems to me like we have a lot of duplication of what Project Concern does.
The way the meal program works, there's 3 of those, and this is really rough, but I did this for our board, so, and it started out just for Atchison County, but it's not exactly duplication. We are the keepers of the funds for Project Concern. So if you'll look at the first column there, partway down it says OAA 3C1, that's Older Americans Act Title 3 C1. It says CMEL, that's congregate meals. The one below it is congregate meals home delivered. Those are a temporary thing, and then HMEL is home delivered meals. So Project Concern gets $1.25 of federal and state money for every meal they serve from us, and they also get another 65 cents of USDA money from us. We don't keep any of that money, that's all pass-through money. But these numbers represent unduplicated persons. So we assessed 207 people in Atchison County last fiscal year for home delivered meals. Now, some of them might have only got 1 or 2 meals, and some of them might have got the full 250 meals a year. So it's a partnership with Project Concern. We fund them as much as we can, and then they collect donations, and then they also, of course, get money from both the city and the county. And with the money they get, they also contribute to match on those funds. So, but these are unduplicated persons, not units delivered. So at the top, those are AASMT and ASMT. Those are assessments. Those are when we actually go into the home. We do all of our assessments in the home so that we can see what's actually happening there. So we can, help with other services. Sometimes we go, it's to do a home delivered assessment, and then we end up saying, maybe you could use some help cleaning, and we can coordinate that, and we also make part of the payment on that, just depending on their resources and the funding source. So the first part of that is all Older Americans Act, and the rest of it is the SCA, that's Senior Care Act, that's state funds. It was just that's more of an FYI. And the last 2 is Aging and Disability Resource Centers. That is our part of Medicaid. Anybody that's on Medicaid for the frail elderly waiver, the traumatic brain injury waiver, and the physically disabled waiver, we also go into the home and assess those individuals. So we have a caseworker that's in Atchison probably 3 days a week. But
So I'm really giving a real quick look at this, but
Mhm.
Marshall County, Nemaha County, Washington County, it looks like Jackson County use a lot more meals. Donovan County
Mhm.
more than Atchison County. Why is that?
Atchison County has some other options that some of the other areas don't have. You know, you can go to McDonald's and get something off the dollar meal. You know, there's other resources.
There's McDonald's in Marshall County and Nemaha County
That's
and
true.
Brown County.
If you look, Brown County actually doesn't participate in the meal program, so those are actually individuals that go to a different county
I see.
to get meals, so that's a little bit different. It's always interesting. A lot of it just depends on who is in charge of those meal sites and how they're running them. You know, and Jackson County has one center, it's in Fulton, and it's very, very busy. It's busy all day. You know, they serve 75, 85 dine-in people every day. It's always been interesting. The actual dine-ins in Atchison has always been low. I know Stephanie has done a lot to improve that, and we're really looking at her numbers. So, you know, it just fluctuates year to year. We haven't really figured out exactly what the determining factors are. A lot of it also depends on the hospitals and the home health agencies. That's where a lot of our referrals come from. Atchison Hospital calls us probably once a week to refer somebody to services. So that's a much better relationship, whereas, you know, in Donovan County there isn't a hospital, so.
Isn't your general public transportation, Atchison County went down to zero? The ends project concern has their own delivery.
We actually do a lot in Atchison County now, and there's a couple of reasons for that. First of all, Project Concern is not going out of area. They're still pretty much confined to Atchison County. She's working on expanding. So
I thought you already accomplished that.
I know she's really close on that part. And the other thing is we're a Medicaid transport provider, and she hasn't got that done yet, so we're still doing those rides. And then a lot of the people on the edges, you know, we're in Effingham quite a bit to take people to Holton or Topeka, those kinds of, so yeah. And I apologize. I mailed it because I didn't realize I could email stuff, but I will get that stuff to Michelle so she has it.
So you got a list of things that Michelle asked for?
Yeah.
Like the IRS 990?
Yeah, the 990. I had an audit with me. I gave that to her. Our next audit.
I think you feel.
Yeah, I don't really need an audit like the IRS 990.
Yeah. We have the 990. I will get that sent. And then she asked for other financial documents, and I'll get those sent as well.
You know, and I really don't know, Karen, what the reason to go to $1,200 is, but it has to happen. At least it hasn't happened on my watch, so.
Well, and let's see. I actually looked at that. In 15, Atchison paid 24 of the 26, and I think we just didn't worry about it too much. And then the next, so in 16 is when it went to 1,200.
So it's been 1,200 for 16, 17, 18, and 19.
Mm-hmm.
And you want us to do more than double what we've been given?
Yes. That's what I'm asking. Just so you know, we're required to get.
It's based on population and
Yes.
Of the seniors or
Over 60. Because it's Older Americans Act and it starts at age 60, and that's why we do that. We're actually required to get $64,000 of match with our federal year to get $423,000. And then we ask each of the 7 counties to contribute, and that total is $13,000. Atchison is the highest request, but we have 1, 2, 3 others that are over 2,000. So we try to ask for as little as possible because I know there's a lot of funding sources, and I know, you know, I actually talked to Stephanie this morning, so she knew I was coming to talk to you today. I think she's on. She said she's on later today.
She is.
So.
Okay. Well, thank you for the information. Anybody else have more questions? We'll put your request down.
Okay.
We have to still discuss it. So.
Right. I know it's just a budgeting at this point. Do you need it? You can keep that one.
Do you want me to keep the audit, or do you guys not want the audit? Keep it?
Because it was on your list, so it'll save me from having to take it apart.
I might leave it through it since I'm on the board, and then that might familiarize me with something, and then
Yeah.
I'll give it to you back.
That's fine. Thank you.
Do you have any other questions for me? All right, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And you email out before each board meeting, time
Yes.
and place, and
Yes.
just so that's just.
Yeah, you'll get the agenda, the last minutes, and then if there's any additional topics that we email out beforehand.
And that is monthly.
Right now, we're meeting monthly.
Okay.
We used to meet every other month, but we're trying to get some of those handbooks up to date.
Yeah.
And hopefully next month we'll do the audit.
Makes for some extended conversation.
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, moving right along. 115, the bid opening.
We gotta do it because of time, so I don't know what Mark is, but have you got him? Don't we have to do it because of time? Nope.
You just can't do it early, you can do it later.
I have
Okay.
them there, they're being watched, they're in, I just sent you the text.
Do
so
we
we'll see
just
if
proceed
we can
with,
Let's proceed with the bid opening.
Oh, then, yeah, I'd say so.
you want to just have Pat open them and read them? And then,
Just understanding.
I don't know if you want to, that's something she had. Water minutes.
The first one is from Wagner Excavating LLC. $15,113.
Now, we're talking one tube or two tubes or?
It is 210th Road culvert replacement per specifications given is what it says.
It's one tube, okay.
The next is from Martin Construction.
He is here. Mark is here. He's on his
Oh, Marcus. I thought you said Martin's here. I just said, yeah, we see.
way. There he is.
And
Sorry about that.
there are two on here. So this one must just be for the first one must just be for 210th Road. And 210th Road on here is 18,435. And then location number 2, which is 302nd Road, is 9,745.
That was 302nd.
For a second minute.
And the last one is from Marlat Construction, Inc. And replace culvert at location 1 is $12,450. And replace culvert at location 2 is $11,600.
Any differences in the bids other than price?
I didn't see what went out to them, what they were to bid on.
Bid sheet.
Am I mistaken that is Marlet at least the lowest price bid?
They are on one bridge and then one bridge.
Right.
But
Or
to
two.
total, I mean,
To do the total, that would be.
And I don't know how if it required that they bid on both, or if I don't know what went out to them, but there isn't, unless there's something in what went to them, there's no reason why you couldn't accept one bid on one and one on the other.
suggestion would be that we table it until we review how this was sent out, since we've make sure that it wasn't a package deal or anything else in that offering that would limit us and give us time to review and make a decision next week.
Is that a motion to table?
Yes.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
Are we sure that we can get that information about what do you have a copy of what was sent out? Oh, he emailed out, so you should be able.
Emily couldn't find anything on paper.
The 31st of
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say there.
That what? Oh, the work be done.
So is
Well-
it time to make a decision, or man?
Was this the one that we talked about this morning at 210?
210. Yeah, I didn't realize he had emailed it. He did. Okay.
Okay, so
So they were to bid separately. Okay. So there's a motion on the floor to table, and it's been moved and seconded.
do we have enough information to offer the bid today?
Well,
I think we
we're
do.
getting time wise.
Okay. I'll
You'll have to rescind.
I'll
your
rescind.
motion.
Well, I think that after it's been seconded, I need to get up, it needs to fail. I mean, I still need to take a vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Motion failed. Lack of votes.
I thought the man.
Okay, so now who's the lowest one on the 210 road?
Marlette Construction,
Okay, and who's the lowest on the
302nd is
Austin Martin.
Austin Martin.
Okay.
Martin Construction.
So do I have a motion in regard to these bids?
So you're asking for a motion to allow Marlette to do 210 and Martin Construction to do 302?
If that's the motion you make.
I'll make that motion, Mr. Chairman.
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I should be ready to vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye. So we need to get this in by the 31st.
Okay, so I didn't realize that there was a time crunch on that. So.
And you did say that you could either bid both of them or bid one? Okay,
You know, each one location one, and then location two.
okay.
Could you forward that email to me?
I got a pencil
So
sharp.
who's going to let Marlette know they have a bid for the,
Michelle, will that be?
I can do that. One more.
Either way, just let me know.
well, we just want to make sure somebody does it. Everybody's assuming someone else did.
And the tubes are on site on both places.
Right.
Okay. Just want to make sure that everything's. let's see there.
Okay. Mark, you probably had to stick around a while. You probably had to stick around for a while. You
Thank you.
want to be downstairs or you want to?
Just wherever.
Yeah, just be around close. Okay.
I'm supposed to call him.
If you wanna go ahead and call him in, or if you want me to give you your number.
I can call him.
Okay,
I've talked, I've read it.
okay, very good. I just wanted to pass it on because it was brought to my attention.
Thanks.
Thank you.
He used to stick around, didn't he?
Yeah,
He knows.
he's going to be around the corner.
Oh,
Oh, what time do I need to be back?
Probably about 20 minutes.
20 to 2.
Yeah, 20 minutes, 15, 20.
Okay. I'll be
Could
here.
you tell me how to proceed on that? Okay, Stephanie Barnes, project concern.
Jeff should be showing up in a couple of minutes. He went to,
Who's coming up?
Jeff will be here in a few minutes. He went to Tom Wagner's funeral. So hopefully
Okay.
he'll join me.
So we probably can move on to a couple of things while we wait for you. I have a permanent public right-of-way easement between the county and K.S.A. Wallingford Jr., a landowner. in consideration $240. I guess it's already been notarized. What do we need to do then?
You need to adopt it. And
Okay.
I think the,
And then there's a
Chairman
temporary
needs
easement, temporary construction easement.
there's two easements. One is the permanent one, forever and for always. And then the other is a smaller easement for just use during construction. So we'll need a little more land for that. So it needs to be,
So let me start off by, the chair would entertain a motion for the permanent right-of-way easement of the property of K.S.A. Wallingford Jr. for consideration of $240.
I have a question, Mr. Chairman.
Sure.
This is an agreement on what they're set for the ground. This is just agreement that they're
No.
willing to take.
this one that has already been engineered, and so we knew the exact legal description. And
So this will clean that up.
yes, this,
If we sign it, then we can go ahead with that project.
yes, well, that's
And
half of the bridge, right? The other half, I've received the verbal that it's agreed, but I don't have the written document back.
Let me ask you this, should we wait till we get that before we okay this?
I don't believe so. I think,
Okay. That's in your area.
I'll make a motion to accept.
I'll second that, Mr. Chairman.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
That's the one signature?
It's already signed, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Then the chair will entertain a motion to accept a temporary construction easement due to K.S.A. Wallingford Jr. For the construction of the bridge. Chair would entertain a motion to accept the temporary.
I'll second it.
It's moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
So this is the 7th day of May, right?
Yes.
Okay. Next I have option to purchase the right-of-way agreement. This agreement is being made entered in the first day of May between the Board of County Commissioners of Atchison County and Robert Judd, a.k.a. Seth Robert Judd, and a.k.a. Seth Judd and Karen Judd. The right-of-way agreement, this is again for bridge construction. Do I have a motion to accept the right-of-way agreement?
I second it, Mr. Chairman.
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded, so be ready to vote. All those in favor signify by saying
Aye.
aye. Aye. Okay. Similar thing. This would be between. This is an option to purchase a right-of-way agreement between the County Commission of Atchison County and Donald S. Layson and Cynthia M. Layson, husband and wife, for considering a replacement bridge located at 222nd Road, immediately east of Highway 57 in Atchison County. Do I have a motion?
59.
Sorry.
That'd be after about Fowler's, right?
yes, that is that bridge.
I so moved, Mr. Chairman.
I'll second that.
59.
It says 59, so maybe I said it. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I think there's another one here, so they're just buried here like crazy. Chair will entertain a motion for a permanent public right-of-way easement on the 7th day of May between Donald S. Layson and Cynthia M. Layson.
I so moved, Mr. Chairman.
It's been moved. Is there a second? Moved and seconded to approve a permanent right-of-way easement. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
So they
Pat,
have,
this says draft. Am I reading the same?
they have,
Now,
they have two
there's
agreements.
one agreement, and then we have the form that will be used for the permanent easement and the temporary easement.
Okay,
that are
so
attached
we don't
to
need
it.
to do that now.
It's only it's about page 3, I think, that
So
you signed.
Page 3 is signed, sealed, and delivered.
Is there a place for your signature? It's
Yeah.
before that. Yeah, that's the only place you need to sign.
Okay, now I'm almost giving myself
In the
dizzy
same
with that. I apologize. Okay, I think I got them all signed off on. Okay, project concern, here we are. I heard the funeral was packed.
Yeah, it's a very good turnout. It's a very good turnout for Commissioner Wagner. So get his whole family back. It was really good. It was a very nice ceremony and a little rainy, but the rain held off for the most part.
Yeah, the church is pretty small for a big crowd.
Yeah, it was packed. It was a lot of good people. I mean, leaving last night was a great turnout overall. I brought from the service.
Thank you.
We did celebrate a moment of silence for
Great.
his honor this morning.
He'd appreciate it. He was a great guy.
I wonder.
He was still interested in the commission, and I know he came several times after when we were still over in the other building, though. But I mean, he came just interested in the whole process.
Yeah, Tom was very devoted to everybody. He loved God, his family, and he loved his county. So he was a true testament.
Yeah.
What's that?
The flag that they.
Yeah, he displayed his county commission flag, so we got to see that last
Cool.
night.
Did he receive his flag?
Yeah, they were caught up. We got flags to everyone that was current.
No.
I was gonna say, you got yours.
No, I don't think so.
No, he was a great guy. I mean, I only knew him from just a little about town and being a commissioner. I didn't know him all that well, but boy, he was just a nice man.
Yeah, he was a great listener.
He'll be missed. He did a lot for this community.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you guys are on.
Okay, I did send over the packet. I think most of the information that you guys had requested, so I hope you guys quite everything covered in that. As you know, Project Concern operates the two senior centers, runs Meals on Wheels and general public transportation for Atchison County. 2018 was a good year. We continue to pass our numbers every year, serving more meals and giving more rides. In late 2018, we did get our new vehicle for what we'd like to do with out-of-county transportation. And there was just a few hiccups along the way with inspection stuff and some things with K.S.A finishing up some of their pieces. But it's on the road, and now we're looking to hire our third driver to be able to provide out-of-county transportation on the just for anybody and everybody. Then I'm working on K-MAP approval and partnering with Logistic Care and the Medicaid-funded transportation. So there's just steps along the application process that I have to do. So that's kind of the thing. I also brought another quick breakdown, a little bit of a graph and a couple little pictures that shows our new minivan. It's kind of the same information that I sent over, especially with the summary page. So again, if you remember last year, we came in and we asked for the continued support of the $125,000 for the nutrition side of stuff, and then an additional $25,000 to help with getting transportation started in 2019 as part of that budget. We were approved for the 135, so the 125 for nutrition with the 10 to help the expansion, and so with the new driver coming on board and the training and testing that has to go along with it, that's what we would like to ask for. Again, not jumping up to the an additional amount, just splitting that over the years to help continue to support our program and help it grow, because I think it's obviously a very much needed service, and we're on the right track with getting it all rolling.
Stephanie, I don't want to put you on the spot here, but Northeast Kansas area Agency on the Aging was just here. And they seem to provide a lot of services that Project Concern does.
They don't provide meal services, and right now they are providing transportation out of county, and it's only because I don't have the driver in place and partnered with the company like Logistic Care and the Medicaid funded.
So they're taking people up again to Topeka and stuff like that?
If they call up and ask for a ride for that, yes. But as soon as we get the driver on board, it'll be, most of that will funnel to us, except for the Medicaid funded stuff until that's all in place.
If you look at the meals, we're like the smallest county as far as receiving meals, but they do say they're providing meals.
Oh yeah. Well, they don't provide meals in our county. We report to them, and so all of our reimbursement comes through them. So it's the federal and the state money comes filtered through area agency.
Okay, that's the
so they don't provide any meals. We provide all of them. It's just they're that middle person that's like the contractor between us and the higher beings.
I asked a question about the transportation. I wasn't aware that we hadn't got the van up in a year. It takes that long to get it up?
Well, we got it really late December, and then on inspection, the ramp wasn't working correctly, and it was a manufacturer out of Texas. So getting somebody here to fix it, they just came middle April to fix it to make it completely compliant. I have also sent a couple drivers in for DOT physicals to start the whole process, maybe even if it wasn't using the ramp van or the ramp part of it. And both of them have failed their physicals, so it's just a lot of
Logistics.
little hiccups along the way. So getting it back out there and getting that next driver on board. And my board of directors has approved the policy to start transporting out of town for general public transportation.
And the city of Atchison contributes how much?
It's an estimated $54,000 for rental, building, utilities, all that kind of stuff.
That's what they furnish in the building.
So we're paying 2/3 you're paying, or we're paying more than
Whatever the building. I get, well, it'll be 54 almost. Be a strong third.
Okay, any wish list that you haven't? What's your wish for the next 5 years?
To get this completely set up and in place, that the non-emergent medical transportation, the Medicaid funded transportation is a good chunk of our revenue, so that's helping to support our overall organization. Continuing to grow Meals on Wheels is, reaching some of maybe those outer county people that might not be included right now. We do go to Huron and Effingham and Lancaster, and as far as, as people have come on board, but continuing to provide that.
So we have you down.
Okay.
Do you have anything you want to add? You haven't been in this room for a while.
Yeah.
It's been a long time in here, I know.
Yeah. It's a really good program. We've, if you look at some of the graphs, you can just see an explosion of growth, especially in public transportation. We're seeing that take off rapidly. The board, about a year ago, we started implementing a strategic plan long term. And what we ran into is we were waiting on a couple of things to fall in place. We've got, with the transportation piece taking off so rapidly, one of the things we've looked at as a board possibly is separating the transportation policy from the nutrition piece. Just for a lot of reasons. A lot of it's tied to more like federal and state grants. They're getting pickier every year on how we handle that. And, I think that misconception is that our services are only for seniors. I think that's one thing that K.S.A. really wants to make sure that people know, that it's more than just senior transportation. Not that we don't provide transportation to seniors, but that we provide it for anybody. I think that's not a stigma, but that's something that we've been trying to build. And so as we look across what our name, what service we provide, the whole 9 yards.
We changed the mission statement to how many people know that.
Correct.
And with that verbiage was in about, basically the seniors.
Yeah. So we just been waiting on some estimated costs. One of our board members, Ethan Hausman, was working on legal costs to separate the two entities. And so once we have that, I think we'll probably have a pretty solid strategic plan in place.
Is that actively being pursued, or is that still in the planning stages?
It's still in the planning stages. We were waiting back on some initial costs. I believe the costs to separate the two aren't very extensive. My guess is it's probably like within $5,000-6,000.
Probably more.
I'm not 100% sure we're going to have a majority vote.
Yeah, that's something that we need to discuss as a board. There's a lot of. I think what we're seeing is in that respect, a lot of this is the way we've always done it, and now we're seeing our transportation. Not that our meals aren't continuing to grow, but we're seeing our transportation go off on a whole new avenue. And K.S.A. recognizes that. K.S.A. has really worked with Stephanie here to get a lot more grant dollars coming in the door. A lot of that's passed through feds, but still, nonetheless, we work through K.S.A. and they've been very adamant about providing non-emergent medical transportation. So we did pass those policies here. Was that earlier this year? January. Yeah, in January we passed that policy procedures for that.
Could one board wear two hats and take care of each, or are they going to have separate boards?
My guess is initially you would probably have 2 separate boards, but it'd be smaller. We're a pretty large board right
We
now
got
as
9,
is.
9,
We're at 13.
13.
And how
Yeah.
often do you meet?
We meet every 2 months. If there's something immediate that comes up that we have to, we can meet as needed. So we're meeting at least 6 times. It seems like we always end up having an extra meeting in there. So
And you have,
almost 7.
you have somebody from the city of Atchison?
Yeah, we have a rep from the city of Atchison, and that would be Commissioner Perdue, I believe, is the city commissioner rep on that.
And Effingham Commission or Council?
No, we don't. We have
Ruth and Pearl.
Ruth Yoder, who I think lives in Effingham, or she's in that
Yes,
vicinity, isn't she?
I think she's Muskota area, actually.
Okay.
I believe.
Pearl Rice is from Lancaster area. We do have a lot of reps across
Sounds like you got a good
across the county.
Yeah.
So we get a lot of good input, but it's something that we have to discuss. And until we know the numbers on what that is, but I know that our transportation's really been taking off. So Stephanie's done a great job taking over. We have a outstanding kitchen staff and transportation staff's picking up.
What
the pace.
I haven't been in there very often. When I've been in there, I've been in Pro-Stop Cleaner does. And it's an old building, so it's hard to, you know, you still put lipstick on a farm animal, but I mean,
Yeah. We're working on right now actually building. So the Effingham facility on Main Street, we got to replace the roof on that. So we're working to get some grants and working through USDA Rural Development to possibly help us with that. We're hoping it happens together soon because we're in the rainy season and this kind of started occurring in the fall. So
I met the girl. Is it the USDA? That Morgan? That's her last name, I think.
yeah,
She's a fireball as far as grants are concerned.
yeah, she's pretty good. I've also dealt with Austin Masters, who's been the primary contact I've been dealing with in Topeka at that. So they've been really hospitable. They're working with us. It moves slower. I mean, you're talking about federal programs, so it moves slower. It doesn't, what should take 2 or 3 weeks takes about 6 to 12. So we're hoping that we get that roof replaced. It's an old building. It's, the roof, just to give you an idea, the roof will cost more than probably the value of the entire building.
Sure.
But it's a service that
That's
we want to
common
keep
in
in the
rural
community.
America. So.
Yeah.
A lot of people gather there. It's about 10 to 12.
Yeah, I'm familiar with that facility. I don't get to the one in Atchison, but I do see, it's utilized
Heavily.
Yeah. It's a vital part of Main Street.
Yeah, the roof's about 70. Well, they had put a coating on it, but the roof is about 7 years old, and they did a coating within the last 7 years. So it needs to be replaced right.
Are they talking about a pitch roof?
Yeah, I think we're looking
Okay,
at probably
maybe.
metal roof.
Okay.
Flat roofs are always a problem there.
Yeah, a lot of the buildings in that area, especially since post-tornado, if you notice, a lot of them are pitched out there, and it just holds up. That's a late 1800s building that's you got to put a roof on. So. That's all I have.
Okay, great.
All right.
Thanks for
Thank you.
coming in.
Thanks, guys.
Then the next steps for Stephanie, so she knows what's the next step for communication as far as funding for this year. And
We'll probably have to get all our numbers in, which we should have next 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah, I would think, well, we're moving along as
sure,
probably faster than we have. Last couple of years, we've moved on pretty fast.
sure.
In fact, the city was mad at us because we had our budget done before then.
Oh wow.
I think we're pretty much, our outside agency, we're pretty much done with all those.
So I just know Stephanie needs to check back with you like June.
Yeah, well, let's say the
July.
1st of July.
1st of July.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think we're trying to approve by the middle of August. So.
Okay.
But we should be pretty well there by the 1st of July.
Okay.
If there's an issue, we'll answer.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Hey, thanks
Good
for
night.
what you guys.
Stay dry.
You need
Stephanie.
No, you guys can have that. I grabbed some for myself. So,
Thank you. Thanks for bringing that.
Stephanie, thanks for all you're doing.
All right, thanks, guys. I
Okay,
appreciate
thank
it.
you. Keep it going. Okay. So do we have an applicant?
Yeah, 3.
Okay.
You probably want to go into executive session.
So we need to go to executive session with each one of them?
I think you probably ought to go into executive session and have a discussion with your director and then decide.
So what do we need? 10 minutes or 5 or?
It's 5, just with me to start off with. I think we'll be fine.
Okay.
And we can personnel first.
Personnel. I'll move that the Board of County Commissioners recess into executive session at 1:45 p.m. to discuss personnel matters of non-elected personnel as allowed by K.S.A. 75-4319B1, and that the purposes of the closed session is to protect the privacy rights of the employee, and that the board come out of executive session at 1:50 p.m. in the commission room, first floor courthouse. Those present will be the 3 commissioners and Jamie Madison, HR Director.
I'll second that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, we're in executive session.
All right, no problem.
Jeff. Jamie.
Okay, we're back in session. I have one thing I wanted to bring up that I had forgotten earlier. There's a purchase order here to pay for half the leadership breakfast, $1,682.50. Can I have a motion to approve this purchase order?
Also move.
I'll second it.
Mr. Moved second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Passes 3-0. You have a motion, Eric?
Yes. I'll move that the Board of County Commissioners recess into executive session at 1:52 p.m. to discuss personal matters of non-elected personnel as allowed by K.S.A. 75-4319B1, and that the purposes of the closed session is to protect the privacy rights of the employee, and that the board come out of executive session at 45 minutes at 2:37 p.m. in the commission room, first floor courthouse. And those present will be the 3 commissioners, Pat Henderson, County Counselor, Jamie Madison, I'm having a brain contusion, HR Director, and alternately 3 candidates for the position of interim supervisor.
I'll second that.
Moved and second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Passes 3-0. We're now in executive session.
We're back on.
Okay.
We're on.
Yes, we are.
I'd like to make a motion that we appoint Mark Gentry, the interim road and bridge superintendent.
I'll second that motion, Mr. Chairman.
It's moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I should be ready to vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion passes 3-0.
Thank you for applying, and the other 2 gentlemen also.
Yeah, I'll let them know where you guys.
Okay.
Old or unfinished business before the board?
Thank you. I'll be in touch.
Okay, yeah, call me.
Okay.
Thanks a lot.
Old or unfinished business before the board? As I
Charlie
said,
probably got some he's unfinished.
No, well, I got a couple of things. And I guess I need to clarify this with Pat.
Okay.
Now, on a tax sale, when a piece of property is auctioned on a tax sale out here, the understanding that I had a couple of years ago when Jeff verified it, you verified it too, I thought this way, that whenever a piece of property is sold at the tax sale, the ones that own the property, or whoever that property belonged to, they have a full year to redeem it. Isn't that a Kansas statute that you gave me?
No, there's a 1-year redemption period on after the sale afforded to the federal government, but not on
So you
not at a
mean
regular
that-
tax sale.
By that, you mean then the federal government?
If there's a federal tax lien on a property, like there was on the bowling alley.
Okay.
The federal government had 1 year after the sale that they could pay the amount of the high bid and redeem the property, own the property. But that's not the case for just your general run-of-the-mill taxpayer. There's not a federal tax lien, and it's not the taxpayer's right. That belongs to the federal government. So
Okay. I misunderstood it because whenever we were talking about it, it was property that didn't have federal liens against it. So
there weren't any in this sale.
the federal could put a lien on it after the tax sale. That's what you're saying.
No. The right of redemption is, in the foreclosure situation, is the right to undo the sale by paying whatever amount is set, and either the amount, in this case, the amount of the high bid. But it could be different in other scenarios. But there is not a general right of redemption after a tax sale for a landowner. Now, the tax sale statutes are kind of a little hard to understand because we have the taxes are due, first half is due in December and the second half is due in May, and then they become delinquent on July 1st. And then the following year on July 1st, if they're not paid, the county treasurer does a sale. That is, she sells the property essentially to the county. The county is the only one allowed to bid, but that process is described in the statute as a sale. And the redemption period that is afforded in the statute is for that sale. And so that's a little confusing to somebody who just looks at a statute and says, oh, it says something about a period of redemption. But that doesn't have to do, that's not included in the section on judicial foreclosure of a tax lien. So there is no, from this last tax sale, there is no right of redemption on any of the properties after the tax sale.
That wasn't the way that I understood it, the way it was explained to me, because, we were addressing some properties, whether we could just go ahead, and I addressed them to Jack right there, about a particular property that if I had bought it, whether it was a nuisance and, problems in the city, that if I could go ahead and just call the excavator in and go ahead and knock her down and clean it up, and it was explained to me, do not touch that property for a year.
Well, that's up to you. I think what they're talking about is any owner of the property has the ability to, if they're ever going to bring an action to set aside the sale, they have to bring it within 1 year of the sale. And that's really to give finality. So you'd have to look at it on a tract by tract basis and see what kind of service you had on the owner, if the owner is alive or deceased, if they were served by personal service, or if they were served by a publication notice. Because publication notice we're supposed to use after we've made a diligent attempt to personally locate the owner. And if we're not able to do that, then publication notice is effective. But if somebody comes back later and challenges it and says that they should have known where I was, and it's kind of like that 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon game, that they can use, the person on the other end, they know what their connections are with people that work for the county. So they could be in a position to say, well, I am best friends with the sheriff's deputy, and he knew where I was, and if you had just asked the sheriff's deputy, he would have, he would have been able to serve me. And that's what the cases that, there's not a lot of them, but maybe half a dozen Kansas Supreme Court cases that address it over 100 years. But those people usually have some story like that, explanation as to how the county would have found him if they had just done this one little thing. So that's probably what they were talking about, is that it is the more conservative advice to wait until that year has passed, because If the sale is set aside because a judge finds that we didn't have good service or process, the county's obligation is to give the bidder their bid back plus interest. But we wouldn't be responsible for any damages. And I don't know. You'd have to look at the specific situation. I think it would be difficult for somebody to make a claim in a situation like you're talking about, that they had been damaged by tearing a building down.
The way he explained it, you know, if you've done any damage to any of the property, they could come back and sue you, or the buyer, I should say. That was the only thing that.
I've not seen any lawsuits like that, but that's one of the problems with trying to give blanket legal advice to people. The more conservative approach is to make sure you wait a year before you make improvements. The other problem would be if you do make improvements on property, that you don't necessarily get paid back for, not necessarily, you don't get paid back for any improvements you make if the court sets the sale aside.
Well, see, the way that I was addressed then is if I went in there and tore that house down, had that house demolished and cleaned up, then they could come back and say, you know, this house is worth $20,000, $30,000 after I destroyed it.
That's the way I took it as well, too, Johnny.
All you have to go to any coffee club in Atchison and you're going to get a new rendition of the sales.
Well, I've been to a coffee club.
No, but I'm just saying, if there's more confusion than probably most of us could understand.
Me and Ryan was bidding on a piece of property, and that was one of the things that I talked to him. Now we're going to have to sit on this for a year before we can touch it. Well, I want to get started.
That seems to be conventional wisdom.
But you'd have to look at how the owner was served. If they were served by personal service, I wouldn't think you'd need to wait at all. But getting into trying to explain that to every person that might be interested and is just not something that I'm willing to try to do. It'll be difficult to do. But if a person was really interested in a tract, or if they bought a tract, they could sure look that up after the sale.
Okay. Well, that's all I need. Looks like we're going to do some road work or road changes.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
So, been over a lot of roads, you know. But, you know, people's going to talk about Atchison County, but hell, guys, it's not just Atchison County. You got problems in Jefferson County. You got problems, you know, Donovan County.
Now drive up Fifth Street.
You know,
I agree and I disagree. You have problems in the road in general, but I doubt very seriously if you went to Jackson Brown and say, what road did you do last year? And you go out and look at it and you can start from scratch again. I don't think you'd find one. But rock roads
agree that Curly Road should have never been ground up. You had your base there and everything. Should have never took that base off of there, because it's going to take years to get that base back, you know, and stuff. But, you know, Jackie was talking about Fifth Street. I addressed it last night in City Commissioners meeting, and we have no plans or no program, I should say, of doing any kind of type work. You know, we're more concerned about some other issues like parks and stuff like that, rather than to address, you know, these streets. I mean, you can't put asphalt in a wet hole with water and plan for it to. It'll come out of there faster than you can shovel it in. But no, we got a lot of streets. I mean, a lot of streets that need some addressing. But
I see we
don't have the funds.
I see we had a candidate file for city commission. Isn't that 2 years away?
No, it's this year.
Oh, it's this year.
This year. Yeah, JW.
Yeah, I seen that.
He filed. But still, I didn't even see it.
Had an article in the paper.
I didn't see it.
Who's up?
Hausman, Butler, and I.
You always have three, right? The high voter gets a 2-year.
It's always a
The
simple
lowest voter
majority.
gets 2 year, the 2 higher voter gets the 4 year.
Okay.
It's always a simple majority.
Yeah.
I
It's
was,
not by
I
party
was always
affiliation.
told that the highest voter got mayor. That didn't happen either. Isn't that
No,
supposed to?
they elect a
I
mayor
think
from
they elect them.
They elect a mayor from your
your pool.
The highest voter doesn't get that?
No.
Oh, I thought they did. Okay.
I think there might have been tradition of that at one time.
I see.
There might be a certain amount of
It should be
deference to
rotating
that.
every year, which I think it's been that way.
It's on the ballot for the third class cities at Atchison.
But they're not electing a commission, they're electing a council.
Correct. They have a council that they have, but they also have a mayor position that's separate.
So, anyway, but no,
Hey,
So
we
we
got
gotta-
we got 4 lots you ought to buy. You need 4 more lots. Didn't we have 4 that didn't sell, or did we already?
well, we can't sell them right off like that.
Yeah, we had 3, I think. that
Three?
we sell.
Three, but they have to go back on.
next
Well,
year?
we have 2 choices. We can
you got a land bank.
donate them or-
can't you?
you can there are a lot. You have some choices on it.
Give them away or send them to Charlotte Purdue.
Well, you can't.
Well, you got one now, one choice now.
If you sell them high. Either give them away or sell them high.
You can give them to the land bank, I think, if you wanted to do that, and if they're willing to accept them. But
Hey, we got walking trails. Atchison's gonna boom, buddy. Hit it while it's hot.
Anything else, Charlie?
No, that's not good.
Okay,
You guys, we got a meeting in 29th, we're gonna meet.
Mhm.
Okay. Looking forward
And I
to that.
think Stacy was gonna get the budget to them prior to that, the 23rd, wasn't it? 24th.
It's
So
already-
they'll have a budget there.
Yeah.
All those committees have met and voted on the budget, so.
Lanner and Kim were there last night with that,
911,
so that sounded like a pretty good deal. I mean, hopefully.
it is.
You guys happy with Mark's?
Well, we haven't joined yet.
Oh, you haven't? I thought.
Well, they haven't.
The city has.
We did on the joint, on the radio system.
This is not being the same. This is not the same as being a member of MARC. We're joining the 911 part of MARC. Right now, we're getting
We've
MARC
never been
service.
accepted.
MARC
Oh,
we're
you
getting for
haven't?
free. We've been
I've
accepted.
never seen no notification of that.
No,
I'm
we're
afraid-
getting all the benefits from being like they say, in a dating relationship.
I'm afraid we're a small fish in a big, big pond.
Well, it sounded like it that day down there at that meeting. But, well, how can they offer you benefits and not be a member of that outfit?
It's a little bit separate. If you're affiliated with the management, Mark is doing the management of the 911.
They're wanting to
It's-
take over the whole state 911.
Well, I don't know about that, but you could go with the state management group or Mark management group. So they're the ones that are the directing of that, where you don't necessarily have to be. They offer that service outside of their membership.
Well,
Just for
You
you
know,
to keep.
and I
come
hadn't
back to
seen
Jack,
this
or-
till last night when
I
they
don't
were
know if
talking
it's back
about
in the folder
it,
or
that they take over all the equipment.
Mm-hmm.
Pat pointed that out, and we had a little concern about that.
That's the reason we wanted to make sure.
But they said, but then that didn't quite make good sense either, because supposedly, when I asked Kim, that was like $165,000 for radios and stuff, and I thought
It
it
doesn't include radios. It's just the computer equipment for 911.
okay,
Radios are separate.
phones and computer.
Yeah.
But that seemed like, but I mean, if it,
When they come ready to get replaced, Charlie, they'll replace them.
yeah,
So that's-
Yeah, do the updates and all that.
that's good.
Yeah, so.
All right, we just went by the recommendations of Kim and Wes. Hopefully they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Okay,
Thanks a lot,
Charlie.
guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pat, for clearing that up for me.
So now it's time for county councilor update.
I don't have anything.
I do have a question about tax sale. You have some properties that didn't sell.
We had 3 that did not sell.
Are they all inside the city of Atchison?
One was in Muskota, wasn't
2,
it?
I don't know. I can look them up.
I think one was.
I don't know.
Dakota, I believe, I may be wrong.
Okay, tract 32 didn't sell.
Roger's pretty active, but the city didn't. I think the city got maybe one or two. I think Roger got 3 or 4.
Roger.
Denton.
That's a property with no address in the city of Atchison on Division Street.
So should we offer those properties to the city for their land bank?
That's one of them. Tract 50. Is on North 8th Street. It's a vacant lot. No 911 designated address.
One of them like just a sliver of ground.
Yeah, and that one I think is in the is out in the county 108. That's a situation where there had been some sales, I think, where they didn't actually have good legal descriptions, and it left. Oh no, that's not it. That's that property sold. Property address 1714 Chestnut Street. So that's over by across the street from K.S.A.'s, kind of back there in that neighborhood.
What if we would donate those lots to Northeast Kansas Building? Maybe they would build a home on it for low income, or
I think the more proper way would be to give it to the city and let them, because that's what they've been doing with their land bank. Give it to Northeast Kansas. Or Highland, I guess would be.
If we start that, I hate to just offer them and they would only pick, well,
no, it's an all or
nothing.
All or nothing.
And I would look into that. So,
yeah.
But we may have to have Pat give us more of a summary of all the choices of what could be done with those and set a policy. I mean, he said there was different options from charter.
Well, I hate to set a policy. I just like to do
well,
there may be a different group of properties next time.
Policy or decide what to do with the 3 ongoing, and then a lot of times that
it'd be cheaper to give them away than to
republish them and
have them for sale the next sale. It'd be cheaper to get rid of them.
Do you think they would take all or nothing? I mean, from the city?
Well, those 3, no, I don't have any idea whether they would. Those, I have no idea. And in prior years, we had vacated the judgment on the properties that didn't sell, and they just went into the next tax sale. And the reason we did that is we didn't want to own them, and you have to maintain them, you have to mow them, and we have an 8-foot wide strip of land over on Kearney Street that is ours.
To give that to one neighbor who didn't want it.
That's correct. But
he didn't even want it. He didn't have to.
We've offered it
brush
to
and
neighbors on both sides.
Yes, neither one of them wanted it. That's over by the black nursing home. Block or 2 away, isn't it? I would have looked at it.
It's just north of Trinity Lutheran.
Yeah. Well, we should decide what we want to do. I like to give them to the land bank. I don't know if there's some of the other cities that didn't sell the properties that Effingham sell.
Those are the only 3 that didn't sell. So they're all within the city of Atchison.
So why don't we offer them, if they want to take over the land bank, Pat?
We ought to have a discussion with them, yeah. We can do that.
Neighborhood garden spot?
They have a neighborhood garden spot, but that would be something that someone could have done. But okay, anything else, Pat? Yeah. You should have at the beginning with. Any of the commissioners have anything else to add? I would accept a motion to adjourn.
I so moved it. We adjourn at 3:01.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.